all your stuff. What can figure it out? That's how it chooses you.
Hello, Teresa.
Hi, Claire.
Now I feel like it's going to be a race to see who says hello first.
That's right. It's a domination thing. Whoever talks first is the one who gets to own the episode.
This podcast is all about competition.
That's right.
And strife.
Tearing each other down, being very mean to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's viciousness. Viciousness in a, 15-minute bite.
Everyone, welcome to It Chooses You, a Smidgen edition.
What smidgen are we auditioning this week?
Well, Teresa, I'm very excited today because I have been watching a series that I absolutely love. And it just ended its first season, which is 6 episodes. That series is Loki on Disney+.
I'm always so thrilled when you tell me about things I should watch that I know I'm already going to love.
I probably don't need to convince anyone to watch a Marvel series on the juggernaut that is the Disney Plus streaming service. And I held off talking about this series because I honestly did not know where the fuck it was going. It went so many surprising places and it was just delightful and I want to talk to you about it.
All right.
If you've seen Loki, you might enjoy this little bit of a deeper conversation about its themes. But if you haven't seen it, I hope you'll enjoy this conversation as well. There will be minor spoilers for the first episode of Loki, and there will be spoilers for almost all the Avengers movies, because as we know, Marvel links all of this together. So If you've not seen the Avengers films...
First of all, get on it. Come on.
Yeah, I think we're safe to spoil Avengers a little bit.
If you haven't seen Casablanca, spoilers ahead.
I want to talk a little bit about the premise of the series Loki.
Great.
And a little bit about what's going on in the first episode. I have a surprising amount to say about this show just in those topics. You've seen the Avengers movies, right?
Yeah. So many times.
So in Avengers Endgame, there's a time heist to go back and retrieve all the Infinity Stones at certain points in history.
Yeah.
To ensure that Thanos doesn't get his hands on them and do his thing. One of the stones is retrieved during the events from the first Avengers film. They're in New York. Loki has just been apprehended by S.H.I.E.L.D., which may be Hydra, actually. I don't know.
It's going to get really confusing, because the first Avengers movie that was released, or the first Avengers movie in the chronology?
It's the Avengers. It's the one that takes place in New York. And there's that big fight with Loki in New York City, and it all sort of comes to a head at, I almost said Tony Hawk's Tower.
Yep, that's right. Nope, that's correct. Yep. He skates right down that A.
At Tony Stark's tower. Yeah. So Loki is apprehended by the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. at the end of that story.
Mm-hmm.
They go time heist that. And in the scuffle that ensues when they're trying to get the Infinity Stone, Loki ends up escaping, grabbing the Tesseract that holds, yes, the Space Stone. I Googled it, y'all. And escaping.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is where Loki the series picks up.
Okay.
In stealing the Tesseract, Loki changes history irreparably.
Yeah, so he's basically starting a new timeline. Like he's changing that timeline from the events that we know to a timeline where he has escaped and now has the Space Stone.
Exactly. In doing that, Loki has actually violated what is called the sacred timeline. He's created a branch off the timeline. He's apprehended and tried for that crime by the Time Variance Authority, the TVA for short.
Okay.
They're basically time cops.
Uh-huh. No, I love it.
You're in, right?
I'm in, yes. The auditors of reality have decided, no, you're not allowed to do that.
Exactly. Of course, one of Loki's trademarks is his enormous ego. So this all begins with him thinking, yeah, I'm just gonna heist my way out of this shit. I'm a god. But he very quickly realizes he's met his match here, because otherwise the show wouldn't be interesting.
Sure.
And I love this idea of, as a writer, having to develop something greater than the gods.
Yeah.
And what's greater than the gods?
Bureaucracy.
Correct, but also time.
Oh, sure.
2 things. Time and bureaucracy.
Okay.
So I'd like to talk about the TVA a bit. As I said, their mission is to protect the sacred timeline. Anyone who deviates from that timeline is labeled a variant and is imprisoned. In the first episode, it said that you can be brought in by the TVA for something as grand as starting a war when you weren't supposed to, or for something as simple as being late for work when you weren't supposed to. The TVA is run by mysterious figures called the Timekeepers. There are, as you pointed out, some obvious bits of commentary on bureaucracy.
Are you calling me obvious? You saying I'm making the... That's what it sounds like, Claire.
No, I'm saying that already just in the premise you've pointed out a theme.
Oh, okay.
What that shows us is that is the correct theme.
Oh, as long as I'm right, then it's fine.
Yeah, you're totally right.
Thank you for bringing it back around to a place I could be comfortable.
So there's this moment in the first episode where a mid-level bureaucrat throws the Tesseract with the Infinity Stone into a junk drawer, and there's about 10 other Infinity Stones in that junk drawer. And he tells Loki that they get so many of those that they use them as paperweights.
Oh, my lord.
And Loki's response is this the greatest power in the universe? I am just in awe that they so quickly up the stakes from the Marvel movies. We've had goddamn 10 movies about the Infinity Stones, and they throw it in a drawer and use it as a paperweight in this show. Talk about raising the stakes.
Yeah, that's delightful.
It tells you a lot about the show's attitude towards the movies. The other cool thing is that there are obviously also parallels to the justice system. And one of the deeper themes that comes up is the question of who gets to determine which timeline is sacred.
Yeah. What a great question.
Similar to this, there's a moment in the first episode where Loki confronts a TVA judge, Judge Renslayer, played by Gugu Mbatha-Raw, who is phenomenal. This is a paraphrased conversation, but Loki says to her, "You don't get to dictate my story." And Renslayer, who is a black woman in a position of power, looks at him and says, "It's not your story. It never was."
Yeah.
And I'm there for that moment.
Yeah, that's delightful.
So what happens is that an agent of the TVA, Agent Mobius, played by Owen Wilson, who is, yes, having a moment. There's going to be a Wedding Crashers 2, everybody. It's happening. Mobius, played by Owen Wilson, is having difficulty apprehending another variant who calls herself Sylvie. Sylvie's played by Sophia DiMartino. She's great. I mean, just assume everybody in this is great. Like, they did not get the B team for this show. So he's trying to apprehend Sylvie. The thing is that Sylvie is another Loki.
Ah, okay.
In fact, the TVA has brought in several Lokis, and they're all variants on the original that we know and love, but they possess a certain core sameness.
Because if anyone is just going to jump in and out of timelines as he will, it's Loki.
Yep. Sylvie, unlike our Loki, Sylvie actually poses a threat to the TVA. And Mobius's theory is it takes a Loki to catch a Loki. So he enlists our Loki's help to catch Sylvie.
Oh my god.
So that's your basic premise. In this show, as always, Tom Hiddleston is a much better actor than he needs to be.
Yeah. That's actually a great... Is that you? Because that describes him perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, he's a cartoon hero, and yet also just a stunningly good actor. Just amazing.
He's always been good, but he's given so much to play with in this show. In the first episode, he's confronted with the pain he's caused.
Mm.
His life is literally played for him, and Mobius says, "Why did you do that? Why do you like to cause pain? Why do you like to make people feel small?" He's also confronted with his death in battle with Thanos. These confrontations and his other relationships in the series over the whole arc changes him. Loki has never really changed. They even have some scenes about this in Thor Ragnarok, where Thor says, like, we're going to just do this over and over again. It's the same thing over and over again. I trust you, you betray me. I trust you, you betray me. He's never really changed. He's always been the god of mischief trying to pull one over on us. And one of the things that makes the series so compelling is that he has an arc. He does change. And it's engrossing to watch the unchangeable change.
There's a hint of that at the end of Ragnarok. Thor assumes he's not actually present, assumes he's gone off and is not with the refugees as they leave, and throws something intending to throw it through him, and he catches it. You know, he is actually there. He has come with them.
Yep, they're really honoring what's come before, which is so rad. There's this deep sorrow that emerges in Loki over the course of this first season. And it's surprising and it's lovely to watch. And Tom Hiddleston does it really well. And all the characters are given arcs. And I want to mention Wunmi Musaku, who plays Hunter B-15. People might know her from Lovecraft Country. She's a fantastic actress and she's making really interesting choices in her career. I don't need to call her one to watch. Like, she's one everyone's watching. She plays one of the Time foot soldiers, Hunter B-15, that takes down variants. And her arc of waking up to what's really going on is compelling as hell.
Well, it's interesting, just from the context you've given me, the idea that this organization, intent doesn't matter. Whether you intend to hop out of the timeline or you have no idea that you did, it doesn't matter. You are apprehended and jailed. Like that's problematic.
Yeah. I feel like I'm making the show out to feel kind of deep and heavy, which it can be at points, but it's also just incredibly funny and light. Has some really good jokes. I mean, it's Loki.
Yeah.
For example, it's revealed in the first episode that Loki actually was D.B. Cooper, which is awesome.
Yeah, okay. So now we're going to do an episode of the podcast where we determine all of these mysterious people and things that have happened. And like, okay, these were all Loki.
Yeah.
That's the name of the episode. All the things we think were Loki.
Yeah, exactly. The aesthetic choices, the music, and the themes really meld well together. It reminds me a little bit of a Terry Gilliam film that meets Doctor Who, and then there's a splash of Wizard of Oz in there too.
Okay.
Did you ever see Time Bandits?
Sure.
The Terry Gilliam movie? Sure. It reminds me a lot of Time Bandits.
Okay.
It is slick. It is well done. Of course, it's high quality, but it also has this dinginess to it that's really charming. I also want to say that the full scope of the series is revealed over the course of the season. Like I said, I didn't know where it was going. It unfolds. The first episode is like, okay, this is another Loki misadventure with more emotional depth. But I'd suggest everyone watch through that second episode because that's when you start to get a sense of what the show is. I watched the first one and I was like, okay. And I watched the second one and I was like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking for a wacky, creative puzzle box of a show, check out Loki on Disney Plus, everyone. Another hot take from me.
Not a hot take, but actually very close to one. Yay!
I'm getting closer. It was released this year.
We'll eventually catch up to the current timeline.
That's right. We're just on a different timeline.
That's right.
It takes a few detours.
Thank you so much, Claire. That was amazing.
You're welcome, Teresa. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode of It Chooses You Smidgen edition. Please remember to like, subscribe, download, and rate our episodes if you enjoy them. It helps us spread the word to other timekeepers just like you.
I also want to say you're free to download them even if you don't enjoy them. We won't know one way or the other. I mean, do you? If you hate us and you just want to download them all so that you can move them to the trash and feel really good about that, that's okay.
Yes, we're down for some spite downloads, okay?
Thanks, Claire. I'll see you soon.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
Bye.
Testing? Great. Thank you for listening to It Chooses You. Your hosts are Teresa Sparks and Claire Patton. Our theme song is by Bobby Dart. If you'd like to get in touch with us, drop us an email at itchoosesyoupodcast@gmail.com.